This one's for the culture. Me and wifey in the room thinking of a master plan, thinking how we can influence the culture from where we stand. Knowing that our steps are ordered by the master's hand, still 10 toes down, we ain't switching up the stance. The mission of this music ain't just to make them dance, trying to tell them
welcome to a bonus edition of The Bond Chronicles. I am one of your great and humble and magnificent hosts, Mr. Ray Bond on Twitter and at Mr. Bond Chronicles on Instagram, and I am blessed to do this amazing podcast with
Mrs. Bond Chronicles on Instagram, Robin Bond on Facebook.
And we have a bonus episode because we do it for the culture. So we're going to get right into it. We're not going to waste your time. We had the pleasure of watching Coming to America 2, and we wanted to talk about it. I think for me, there was a number of good things, and then there were some things that I think were kind of glossed over that I want to get more in depth with. So overall, I thought it was a solid movie. I saw it getting killed initially on social media, and then it seemed like as more people began to watch it, just on content alone, I think more people were more open to it, and I think the expectations kind of simmered.
Yeah.
And so I think the second wave of people I see watch it went into it with maybe a more reasonable expectation, and that's why the reviews I saw later were better than the ones initially. What do you think?
I share that opinion. I guess when I checked social media Saturday morning, it was rough.
I had people like they hated it.
Yeah, like it was really rough. I was just like, dang, can it be that bad? But I know from history, sequels can be awful. So I was a little nervous about watching it. But then, like you said, as more people started to watch it and form their own opinions, and I started to see a more varied, review of the movie. It's like, oh, okay. So it's not awful. Just don't go in with super high expectations, which I don't think I was going to anyway, just because it's been 30 years since the original movie came out.
It's been 30 years?
Give or take, but it came out before. When did Coming to America come out? We were like little, so yeah, and we're 32, so.
I'll be 33, coming up shortly. So no, I agree. I think there was a level of expectations that need to be set. I was surprised at it seems like how high the expectations were, because typically there are some sequels that are good. Mm-hmm. It's hard to have a sequel to a classic, and Coming to America, by all accounts, is a classic.
Yeah. And
so we've seen time and time again how that can be hit or miss. So I liked the beginning. There's a couple things that I did like, and then I'll kind of turn over to you, see what you liked, and then if you have any, other takes, that's fine. So I loved the black cast. There was black everywhere, and I didn't know what to expect, because sometimes when you get all black, it gets corny, it gets cheesy, it gets overdone. And I think there was a solid balance between, it was still corny. Yeah. There was plenty of corny jokes. But I thought there was still a certain level of elegance that black culture offers. I thought Wesley Snipes played his role really, really well.
Shout out to Wesley Snipes and all of his little roles that he's been doing the last few years.
100%.
Like, they haven't been phenomenal, significant roles, but he's played his part in all of those recent movies.
So when I look at movies like this, especially when you have such a star-studded cast of people we had comedians, we had actors, we had singers, you had people from a wide range of backgrounds. I look for people who pop out, who's memorable. And for me, I think Wesley Snipes is probably the most memorable character. I was not aware of who played the son. Has he been in other stuff?
No, I didn't recognize him, and I'm typically good at recognizing a face from other projects, and I didn't recognize him at all. But he is from PG County.
Right.
So
we're going to say shout out to the DMV and shout out to him. That was a big move for him on a huge stage. I thought he did an adequate job. I wasn't overly impressed. I don't think he really did anything to really make me laugh significantly. I thought his job interview was
job interview was by far his best scene.
Yeah. So when he kind of flipped it on the white guy in his background, I thought that was cool, but indicative of sometimes how we can be. The other scene that really stuck out to me early on was the funeral. And so I had to turn to you probably halfway through, and I'm like, so is he not dead? What is happening?
What is going? You did. He's like, what is going on here? Who died?
So I actually thought that was a genius idea.
We're not having a funeral for you before you die.
Why not?
Because we're not.
They always say it's better to give someone their flowers when they're here versus when they're gone.
Bro, I give you your flowers all the time.
This isn't about you. This is about me and everybody else and all these followers that we have now and that we will have gaining to be able to have a service where you get to experience your funeral. I thought it was actually a great idea, and I would not be surprised if going forward we start to see more of that. I thought it was a pretty cool idea. What's the word I want to look for? It's kind of arrogant and brash, but that's kind of me. And he brought out some classic acts.
Yeah.
So I thought
Love Gladys Knight. She was so funny. So cute.
And then on cue, he died.
Yes, he did.
And
the fact that he said, I'm going to die now. And he's like, wait, what? No, you're not, Dad. And he just closed his eyes and he was gone.
I will say it was interesting to me the way in which their relationship aged. It did not appear that, and I'll just use Akeem and his fathers, that they had a great relationship, and that his father didn't seem to have a lot of respect for him. At one point he was like, they're going to kill you, they're going to assassinate you.
Yeah, and you're weak.
And you're weak, and he just didn't seem to have a lot of respect for his ability to lead. And then he was pissed because he didn't give him a son, but then he knew he had a son. So that part was awkward for me. I would have expected that to be probably handled a little differently, considering when he came back, and it seemed like there was a celebration at the end of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
They were accepting of his decision. They celebrated it. For that to be the interaction to start the movie, I thought was an interesting choice. And I wasn't really sure why they took that approach.
I mean, but if you think back to the original Coming to America, King Joffrey didn't really... I'm not going to say he didn't respect Akeem in the original movie, but he didn't think very highly of his decision-making skills then. He sent him to America to have a good time, not to truly find a wife. And so for him to get there and then cause all this ruckus over Lisa, and then he basically came there to command him to come back home. I don't feel like much of their relationship changed. If anything, Akeem grew to respect him more just because he grew older and he understood the burden that laid on his head. But I don't think they had a lovey-dovey father-son relationship to begin with.
Right, and I agree. To begin with, I 100% agree. I would have thought after the wedding and that acceptance and the celebration that came, and at that point, he's kind of your responsibility. He's come back home. So whatever he's going to become is under your tutelage.
Is this true?
So if you're not happy with where he's at, for me, that's an indication of your leadership.
Yeah.
And we saw throughout the movie that there was an expectation that things were supposed to change. And the patriarchs did not do that, to the point that the Barb was like, a woman can't start her own business.
Yeah.
I kind of, I guess, get that in the America. I wouldn't have thought that would have been the case in Zamunda. So I was thrown off by little things like that. And there's one other big aspect that I want to get to, but I guess what are your thoughts as far as that particular instance where women were not able to have their own businesses in Zamunda?
You know what I think of.
And I mean, from a Eddie Murphy production, from a Coming to America, from a black focused in today's environment, why do you think that was still put in? Because by all accounts, there was a frustration that potentially the queen would be, or the next leader would be a woman versus, say, Black Panther, where it's celebrated and people wanted Shuri to be the next Black Panther, and that would have been accepted. So on one hand, it's like women are celebrated in a hierarchy and a level, and then in Coming to America, it was like women were still seen in their modern day as less than.
So I think that was kind of thrown, and this is personal opinion, I think that was kind of thrown in there so that it built on the plot of the story. You see Akeem comes, the beginning of the movie, like you said, his dad was really unhappy with the fact that he didn't have a male heir. You could see in the beginning of the movie the tension between him and his daughters, him and his wife, about the way that he'd been doing things for the last 30 years or whatever you want to say. And throwing that dynamic in there, and also, obviously the interaction between him and his daughter, I think was a way so that by the time we got to the end of the story, Prince Akeem could have like this revelation, then King Akeem could have this revelation that I'd made all these promises. I said I was going to do all these things and I didn't stay true to myself. And boom, all these things have happened that made me realize we need to move forward. But these are all the ways that we need to move forward, including my daughter, who's shown extreme loyalty to her country. She's served her country in great ways already, deserves more than the opportunity to be the next ruler of Zamunda. Personally, I thought that was going to happen from the beginning, because it didn't make sense to bring this outsider who knew nothing about the country, its culture, its history, to come in and lead the country just because he was a man. So I didn't think that's how the movie was going to end. So to your point, I understand why it was thrown in there, and that was the dynamic that he set up, because it ultimately got to like the quote unquote happy ending.
Fair enough. I would have expected something a little different, but they got there. So, second thing, or third thing, I don't know what number we're at. I loved the wardrobe.
Yes, the black it was gorgeous. Like all of the different cloths and colors, but that was indicative of the first movie as well.
Yeah.
And I meant to look up who did the wardrobe then, but I forgot before we started recording, so.
Yeah, well, sometimes you can't be perfect all the time. But no, I was, the men in their garb, A1, the women in their garb and attire, A1, class personified, even Wesley and his camp of, like, hooligans, I guess is what they were supposed to be.
Warriors, soldiers.
I don't know what they had some guns and some other stuff, but, and then Tiana Taylor, she came through in that thing, and she followed in her mother's footsteps and ended up short.
That wasn't her mom or her sister.
It was her sister.
I mean,
her aunt.
Yeah.
No, because it was his daughter. It was Wesley Snipes' daughter.
Wesley Snipes'
but
daughter.
It was Wesley Snipes' sister.
So that was her aunt.
So her aunt. And even that is kind of along that same pattern of like, I didn't feel like they needed to redo that. Like that women are just this subservient, that she was gonna stand there for hours, and then Wesley Snipes thanked Akeem at the end about thank you for freeing my sister, but then she was still like barking like. I get it. I guess it was from a comedic relief standpoint. In today's day and age, at least from where I'm standing, I could have done without that. But overall, I guess not as big of a deal. But I could have done without that.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. Her training to be the perfect wife, went in line with them trying to bring the same elements that were in the original movie into this movie, which again, like I understand why they did it.
And to that point, like there were a number of instances that reflected back to the first movie as sort of like a homage. And I respect it. I thought that was a lot of those things I thought was really well done. When he went back to the barbershop, And there were other kind of quote unquote flashbacks or things that reminded you of the first. So I'm glad that they didn't come in and just try and completely remake it and act like they were two totally separate movies. They built on one another. But again, there were certain aspects I thought could have been left in back in the day that they brought forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the last point that I have, and you can kind of go from here, is I thought it was very interesting that they just kind of glossed over the fact that Akeem got raped. Like, they did it in like a funny way, but in essence, he was drugged and raped and then had this epiphany after the fact. And again, in the culture in which we live in today, I think it was somewhat tone deaf and unnecessary. Like, I get it, and that, from what, by all accounts, that was supposed to be the comedic humor. I just don't know if that is ideal for the world we live in today. And again, I don't want to like beat the dead horse, but it just, in the moment, it's like, oh, ha, ha. But then as you kind of think about it and unpack it, it's like, well, that's not ideal, and that's not okay. And that is something that I think we as people, when we have the opportunity, we have to be careful. And so, in hindsight, it rubbed me more of the wrong way than it did maybe initially. But even initially, it was like, and we've talked about kind of the Rick Ross line, and you know how I stand on Cardi B and what she said about drugging people and robbing them. So for me, it hit a little different personally. You know how I stand on Cardi B and what she said about drugging people and robbing them. So for me, it hit a little different personally. But you know, huh?
Nothing. I'm just not.
Did you?
I'm not trying to make your point, light of your point.
No, you know, never been raped. But I'm guessing you were good with it, didn't you?
You know, it didn't even dawn on me until you said it just now. I was like, and for what it's worth, you know, she did take advantage of him in an inebriated state. So by all accounts, that is, you know, rape. I didn't think of it that way, but I mean, that's just more indicative also to society and how, you know.
Had it been reversed?
Oh yeah, it had been a problem. Most definitely. It had been a problem. Okay. Which is, again, how it is in society. Men don't get to talk about being abused or, you know, sexually assaulted or any of that because, one, it's a whole masculinity thing, and then it becomes a joke, honestly. So, I didn't think of it that way, babe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you were raped, Prince Akeem.
Yeah.
Kind of sucks. So I'm looking at this one note right here.
Mm-hmm.
Tiana Taylor, which you did bring up, and you said how many kids she had then?
No. So I was going to say, like, in real life, her and Iman have had, like, two.
They've got two.
She did not look like she has two kids. Like, when she came, the first outfit, I'm pretty sure I saw, like, abs. So.
Oh, no, yeah, Tiana Taylor's bad. She's in great shape. And shout out to her, because I don't have that kind of discipline.
Me either.
I don't.
And that, to me, I guess was probably what stuck out the most, was like, she got a six-pack? Like.
That stuck out to you the most? Of, like, everything in the movie?
At that point, when I first saw her, and then, like, the whole shindig, which I thought was really well done, I've talked about it, but I was like, dang, that girl got abs. Yeah,
she does. And a whole lot of other stuff.
They didn't really show stuff like that.
No, they didn't.
And I will say, even the barber, when her and the son went out on their walk, like, it looked like it was, like, mesh or something, where it would have been in the front of her and then in the back of her. Yeah. But it was done in such you couldn't see anything.
No, you couldn't.
So
But all of the servants had that same outfit on.
Right. My point being, there was a lot of quote-unquote risque outfits, but there was not a lot shown with that. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that. Mm-hmm. I think you can be sexy and still classy.
Yeah.
And I think that toed the line. Tiana Taylor did it. The oldest daughter did it. The moms were pretty well covered overall, but there was enough sex appeal in really most all of the women. Even the youngest daughter had kind of like a sexy for a child kind of thing going on.
What is sexy for a child?
Like,
It was age appropriate.
It was age appropriate, yeah. Like, you can dress someone up like a little princess and do everything like that without being trashy and overdone.
Yeah.
And I thought she was still well covered and well taken care of, while also showing that she was a royalty. So make sexy wasn't the right word, but still royal and elegant. I thought was really well done across the board.
Shout out to Ruth Carter.
Yeah.
If you don't know who she is, definitely do your homework, because she is an awesome wardrobe designer. She did Black Panther. She's worked on a lot of Spike Lee movies, and just a whole beautiful career of creating, obviously, and a lot of them were telling Black stories. She's just a wonderful person. I follow her on Instagram. She's so inspiring.
Oh, well, I did not know who she was until it was brought to my attention, but shout out to her. Killed it, did her thing. That was probably the most memorable thing for me, was the outfits on top of everything else. So that leads us to a brief pivot we're going to take on this. What? What? Say it. Go ahead and say it. You're talking into a mic.
Right, so the mic probably picked me up anyway.
Right.
You don't have to say the word pivot so much.
That's what I said.
Pivot.
It's my thing.
Pivot. We're going to pivot. And I've never watched Friends. I've never been a Friends person, but I have seen that episode where they're trying to move the couch, and Ross.
I haven't seen the episode.
Oh, it's a really funny episode.
A friend of the.
It is. It's a really
of the show.
It's a funny episode, and they're trying to move a couch up the stairs or something, and he keeps screaming, "Pivot, pivot!"
So we're going to slightly change subjects. We're not going to pivot, even though it's a basketball term, and I was a superstar athlete at one point in my life. But sequels and their ability to fall flat on their face. This one, I did not think fell flat on his face. I thought there was a number of opportunities for it, but considering the bar that was initially set, I thought it was a solid movie. I will not say that it's something I plan on going back and watching a bunch of times.
Probably never will watch it again.
Okay, I was going to be that harsh. But yes, I probably will not watch it again.
Probably won't watch it again.
But I thought it was okay. So for me, I had two movies that stuck out to me as really, really great sequels. Arguably for me, they were better than the original. The first.
Now that's because I'm looking at your list, and that's just outright disrespectful.
For which one?
For Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour 2 was better than the first one.
I love the Rush Hour 2.
You are tripping!
Are you kidding me?
When was the last time you watched Rush Hour 2?
More recent than I watched Rush Hour.
I don't even believe that.
What are you talking about? So, she tried to steal my thunder, but it's okay. I'm reclaiming my time. Rush Hour 2, and for me, Bad Boys 2. I think those were as good, if not better, than the originals, which I think is really, really hard to do. There's been some other movies that have, they're tolerable, and then there's been some other ones that just absolutely suck. But for me, those are the first two that stuck out for me. What about you?
Taking a classic movie and then bringing it into current times, I have to say The Best Man Holiday. Like, that movie was really good. It picked up, and obviously the dynamic of the friendships had changed given the events of the past movie, but the way that they brought all those characters into, current time and healed those relationships between all of them, really. Like, I thought they did that really, really well.
You would pick a romantic movie, but that's okay.
And? I really liked Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 was really, really good.
There hasn't been a bad Iron Man.
Yeah, I guess. And then there was another one that I was thinking of when I was looking at your little list, but I couldn't, I can't remember it, and I didn't write it down.
That's why you put it on the list. So my little list came in handy. That's why I didn't forget my movies.
Yay for you. You want a cookie?
No, because I'm trying to lose weight. So you can keep your cookie.
Okay. No, I definitely don't agree with the Rush Hour 2. Like, when I think of it off the top of my head.
Hey, Rush Hour 2, the one that had Jeremy Piven in it?
You don't want to know why it sucks? Because I don't even remember who else was in it. And I don't remember Jeremy Piven being.
I'm pretty sure he was the one in it.
Who did he play? What did he do?
He got him dressed to go into the casino.
Nah, bro. I don't think that's what it is. No, just do the Rush Hour 2 cast, because Googling Jeremy Piven is gone.
I was going to do Jeremy Piven Rush Hour 2, but this way is going to have to go all the way through it. And, yep, boom. Where's the cast? Taking up all my time.
If you had just...
Faster.
No. Rosin. See, I don't even remember these people being in this movie.
Well, that's just because you... he was in it. Thank you very much.
Versace, Salvatore.
So you need to go back and watch Rush Hour 2.
I don't
First
know.
Because you put a whole lot of disrespect.
Japan,
in
right?
Hong Kong.
And
remember Don Cheadle was in the back, and him and Jackie Chan trained at the same joint?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's why it's a... I'm not going to say it sucked as a...
95% of Google users like this movie.
I'm not saying it was a bad movie. I like the movie. I don't like it more than the first one, though. The first one, was hilarious.
So was the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we thank y'all for your time. This is a brief bonus segment we wanted to bless y'all with. Please, again, make sure that you like, make sure that you share, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so that you can get all these kind of updates when we drop and bless y'all with episodes like this.
Drop and bless.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Drop in and blessing. Drop in and blessing. Drop in, blessing. Okay. Let me get my rap bag. But no.
Let's not do that. Thanks so much for joining
You are going to stop this hating on my rap game. One of these days, I'm going to show y'all the video, if I can ever find it, of your boy rapping. The boy was sick with it. There's some people out there, some fans and followers of mine. Y'all know, y'all have heard. I do that thing. Don't listen to her. She know. She just going to put some respect on my name at some point. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Peace and love.